The desperate signal, the red lights of the Mars Deep Space Monitoring Station cast long shadows across the control room. Captain Sarah Chen had been staring at the same star charts for 6 hours, her coffee long cold, when the impossible happened. The silence that had dominated humanity's search for extraterrestrial intelligence for over 3 centuries was finally broken. "Captain Chen, we've got something," called Dr. Marcus Webb from his station. The xenolinguist's voice carried a tremor that Sarah had never heard before. His hands shook as he adjusted the massive array of sensors that had been scanning the cosmos for any sign of intelligent life. Sarah pushed back from her desk and walked over to Webb's station. The monitoring facility was humanity's most advanced listening post, positioned in the shadow of Mars to avoid Earth's radio interference. For 40 years, it had heard nothing but the natural music of the universe pulsars, cosmic radiation, the whisper of solar winds. Tonight was different. "What are we looking at, Marcus?" Sarah asked, though her trained eye could already see the patterns on the screen. This wasn't random noise. The signal showed clear organization, repetition, structure. Someone was trying to communicate. Webb's fingers flew across his controls as he worked to clean up the transmission. "The signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 1,200 light-years away. But Sarah, this isn't just any message. The mathematical patterns, the way it's encoded, whoever sent this is desperate." The static began to clear as Webb's translation. Algorithms worked their magic. Slowly, impossibly, words began to emerge from the cosmic noise. Not human words, but somehow the meaning became clear through the universal mathematical concepts that any intelligent species would understand. "We are the Zalani," the voice said through the computer's speakers. Even through the electronic translation, Sarah could hear the exhaustion and fear. "Our worlds are dying. An ancient enemy has awakened from the deep places between stars. They call themselves the Harvesters." Sarah felt her blood run cold. She grabbed the emergency communicator and sent out a priority alert to Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, Admiral Victoria Stone would be looking at the same data. The message continued, painting a picture of horror that stretched across multiple star systems. "The Harvesters are not like us. They are machines, but machines that have lived for millions of years. They consume everything, not just life, but entire worlds. They break down planets for raw materials and energy. 7 of our colony worlds are already gone." Webb looked up at Sarah with wide eyes. "Captain, they're not just asking for help. They're warning us. According to their star charts, the Harvesters are moving in a pattern that will eventually bring them toward Earth's sector of the galaxy." The transmission included detailed astronomical data about the Zalani system, information about their technology, and most importantly, everything they had learned about their enemy. The Harvesters traveled in massive fleets of ships that looked more like living organisms than machines. They could repair themselves, adapt to new weapons, and worst of all, they learned from every battle. "How many ships do the Zalani have left?" Sarah asked. Webb checked the data streams. "Maybe 30 combat vessels. They started with over 200. The Harvesters have been hunting them for 8 months. Sarah's communicator buzzed. Admiral Stone's face appeared on the screen, her expression grim. Behind her, Sarah could see the busy halls of Earth Defense Command. "Captain Chen, I need you to tell me this is real." "Admiral, Dr. Webb has run every verification protocol we have. The signal degradation is consistent with interstellar transmission. The mathematical constants check out. The star charts match our astronomical data. This is genuine first contact, and they're asking for help." Stone was quiet for a long moment. In the background, Sarah could hear other officers discussing fleet positions and weapons capabilities. How long would it take to reach them? With our fastest ships and the new quantum drive technology, about 3 weeks, Sarah replied. But Admiral, according to their message, they might not have 3 weeks. The transmission from the Zilani continued to repeat, each time growing slightly weaker as their equipment failed. Webb had managed to enhance the signal enough to catch additional details. The harvesters weren't just destroying the Zilanith, they were studying them, learning their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. Captain Chen, Admiral Stone said, her voice carrying the weight of command, "I'm authorizing Operation Lighthouse. We're going to answer their call." Sarah felt her heart race. Operation Lighthouse was Earth's theoretical response to a galactic threat. It had never been used because they had never found another intelligent species. "Admiral, what are we talking about in terms of fleet size?" "Everything we have," Stone replied. "Every ship, every weapon, every person who can fight. We're looking at the largest military deployment in human history." Lieutenant Jake Morrison, the station's tactical analyst, looked up from his console. "Admiral, with respect, we don't know anything about fighting these harvesters. The Zilani have been studying them for months and they're still losing." Stone's expression hardened. "Lieutenant, that's exactly why we need to help them. If these creatures are as dangerous as the Zilani claim, ignoring them won't make them go away. Eventually, they'll find Earth." Over the next 12 hours, Sarah watched in amazement as humanity mobilized like never before. Every space-capable nation contributed ships and crew. The massive orbital shipyards above Earth worked around the clock to outfit vessels with the most advanced weapons available. Scientists shared decades of research in hours. Military commanders who had never met began planning joint operations. Dr. Webb spent those hours in constant communication with the Zilani, using the quantum communication array to send real-time messages across the vast distance. The aliens were surprised and grateful that someone had heard their call. They shared detailed intelligence about the harvesters' tactics and technology. "Sarah," Webb said during one of their brief breaks, "the Zilani are remarkable. They've been spacefaring for over 3,000 years. They've explored dozens of star systems, met several other intelligent species, and they say they've never encountered anything like humanity." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "They're amazed that we're coming to help. Apparently, most species they've met are too focused on their own survival to help strangers. They keep asking why we're doing this." Sarah looked out at the stars, thinking about the question. "What did you tell them?" "I told them it's because we're human. We don't abandon people who need help, even if we've never met them before." The fleet that assembled above Earth was impressive by any measure. 53 major warships, each capable of carrying hundreds of fighters and thousands of crew members. 127 support vessels loaded with supplies, medical equipment, and repair facilities. Altogether, nearly 300,000 humans were preparing to travel further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. Admiral Stone transferred her flag to the massive battleship U.S. Defiant, the largest and most powerful vessel in the fleet. Sarah found herself promoted to Fleet Communications Officer, responsible for coordinating between all the ships and maintaining contact with the Zel A&I. As the fleet prepared to depart, Sarah received one final message from the Zelnai. The signal was very weak now, their transmission equipment failing under constant attack. "Human friends, the alien voice said. "We do not know if our worlds will survive until you arrive. But knowing that someone answered our call has given us hope. We will fight as long as we can. Please, hurry." The quantum drives engaged with a brilliant flash of light visible from Earth's surface. The largest fleet in human history vanished into the darkness between stars, racing toward a battle that would determine the fate of two civilizations. As Sarah watched the stars stream past the observation deck, she wondered if they would be fast enough. The Zilani had been fighting for 8 months. Could they hold out for 3 more weeks? Behind them, Earth continued its orbit around the sun, unaware that the fate of humanity now rested with a fleet of ships heading toward a battle with an enemy older than civilization itself. The stars that had seemed so peaceful just days ago now held the promise of war. The journey to the Zilani system would test every system, every crew member, and every piece of technology humanity had developed. But Sarah knew they would make it. They had to. For the first time in human history, the stars had called for help, and humanity had answered. Asterisk. The battle for tomorrow. 3 weeks into their journey, the human fleet received a transmission that changed everything. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen, now commanding the largest military force in human history, stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant. As the weak signal from the Zilani system came through, Admiral Dr. Webb called from his communication station. "We're receiving a new message. It's not from the planet anymore, it's from space." The transmission was clearer than the previous ones, but filled with static from weapons fire. Through the universal translator, a new voice emerged. "Human fleet, this is Commander Vex-9 of the Zilani Defense Force. We are the last of our orbital stations. Our homeworld fell 6 days ago." Sarah felt her heart sink. They were too late. The Zilani civilization had been destroyed while humanity raced across the galaxy to help them. "Can we respond to them?" she asked. "The quantum communication array is online, Admiral. We can talk to them in real time." Sarah stepped forward to the communication panel. "Commander Vex-9, this is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call and are coming to help. What's your current status?" The response came back immediately. "Admiral Chen, we cannot believe you came. We have 18 ships left, hiding in the asteroid belt of our outer system. The harvesters are still at our homeworld, breaking it down. For materials, they think they have destroyed us all." Captain David Park, commander of the flagship, looked at the tactical display. "Admiral, we're 12 hours away from the Zilani system. If the harvesters are distracted with consuming their planet, we might have the element of surprise." Sarah studied the data that the Zilani had transmitted. The harvester fleet was massive, over 400 ships of various sizes, all with the organic-looking design that the Zilani had described. They moved like a swarm of insects, coordinated but unpredictable. "Commander Vex-9, Sarah said into the communicator, "we need to coordinate our attack. Can you tell us about the harvester weaknesses?" The alien commander's response was immediate. "Admiral, we have fought them for 8 months. They adapt to our weapons quickly, but there is one thing we learned. They struggle with coordinated attacks from multiple directions. They think like a hive mind, but they can be confused by complex tactics." Dr. Webb was working frantically at his station, using the enhanced communication link to exchange detailed tactical information with the Zilani. "Admiral, they're sending us everything they know about harvester technology. Their ships are part biological, part mechanical. They can repair themselves, but it takes time. Sarah called a conference of all ship commanders. The virtual meeting room filled with the faces of humanity's best military minds. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation. The Zalani homeworld has fallen, but survivors are still fighting. We have one chance to catch the harvesters while they're distracted. Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the heavy cruiser Thunderbolt spoke up. Admiral, we've studied the harvester ship designs. Our weapons are completely different from anything the Zalani used. We might be able to hurt them before they adapt. What about the numbers? Asked Captain James Liu from the carrier Horizon. 400 enemy ships against our fleet of less than 200. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing both fleets. The Zalani will fight with us. That brings us to about 220 ships total. But more importantly, we have something the harvesters haven't faced before: human tactics and human determination. The fleet dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of the Zalani system. The sight that greeted them was both beautiful and horrifying. The Zalani homeworld, once a blue-green paradise according to the transmitted images, was now a brown and grey husk. Massive harvester ships clung to its surface like parasites, strip mining the planet for resources. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, Sarah broadcast to the entire fleet. Today we fight not just for the Zalani, but for every intelligent species in the galaxy. The harvesters have consumed countless worlds. Today that ends. The battle plan was complex but brilliant. The human fleet would split into 3 groups, attacking from different angles, while the Zalani survivors provided critical intelligence about harvester movements. The element of surprise would only last minutes, but minutes might be enough. Zalani Defense Force, this is Admiral Chen. Are you ready? Commander Vexnin's voice came through clearly. Admiral, we have waited months for this moment. The Zalani fight with Earth today. The first wave of human ships struck the harvester fleet like a thunderbolt. Missiles, energy weapons, and kinetic projectiles tore into the organic-looking enemy vessels. The harvesters, caught completely off guard, took devastating losses in the opening minutes. Direct hits on multiple targets, reported Captain Park. Their ships are different from anything we've seen, but they're not invincible. But the harvesters adapted quickly. Their remaining ships began to swarm toward the human fleet, using tactics that were both familiar and alien. They moved like living creatures, but with mechanical precision. Admiral, they're learning our attack patterns, warned Lieutenant Morrison from the tactical station. They're adapting their defenses. Sarah watched as the battle unfolded on the main display. The harvester ships were indeed learning, but they were also revealing their weaknesses. Dr. Webb, are you getting this tactical data to the Zalani? Yes, Admiral. Commander Vex9 says they're learning things about the harvesters they never knew before. The battle raged for hours. Human ships fought with a ferocity that surprised even the experienced Zalani. When the US Warrior was severely damaged, her crew refused to retreat, instead ramming their ship into a harvester vessel 3 times their size. Both ships were destroyed, but the sacrifice allowed a squadron of fighters to penetrate the enemy formation. Admiral, Captain Park called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the harvester fleet." Sarah was surprised. The harvesters had never tried to communicate with the Zalani during their months of warfare. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything they had heard. It was mechanical, but with an underlying organic quality that made it sound ancient and tired. "Unknown species, you fight well, but you cannot stop us. We have consumed 1,000 worlds. We will consume yours as well." Sarah stepped forward to respond. "This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We are humans, and we don't surrender, we don't retreat, and we don't abandon our allies." "Humans," the Harvester voice repeated, as if tasting the word. "You are new to this galaxy. You will learn that resistance is futile. We are eternal." "Then you haven't met humans before," Sarah replied. "We specialize in the impossible." The battle turned when Dr. Webb made a crucial discovery. Working with the Zilani scientists, he found that the Harvester ships had a central coordination node that controlled their adaptive defenses. If they could disrupt it, the entire enemy fleet would be vulnerable. "Admiral de Zilani have identified the Harvester command ship," Webb reported. "It's the largest vessel in their fleet, positioned at the center of their formation." Sarah studied the tactical display. The command ship was heavily protected, surrounded by dozens of smaller vessels. Getting to it would require a coordinated assault that would cost many lives. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We've identified the enemy command vessel. If we can destroy it, we can end this battle. But it won't be easy." The final assault was everything that human military training had prepared them for. Ships from across the fleet coordinated their attacks with precision that impressed even the Zilani. The surviving Zilani vessels, fighting with renewed hope, provided crucial support. The UES Defiant, along with 12 other ships, broke through the Harvester defensive line. As they approached the command vessel, Sarah could see it more clearly. It was indeed part biological, part mechanical, like a massive space-going creature covered in technological implants. "Target the central structure," Sarah ordered. "Everything we have." The combined firepower of 13 human ships struck the Harvester command vessel simultaneously. The ancient ship, which had survived for millions of years, began to break apart. The effect on the rest of the Harvester fleet was immediate and dramatic. Without their central coordination, the Harvester ships began to behave erratically. Some fled toward the outer system. Others simply stopped functioning. The few that continued fighting were quickly overwhelmed by the combined human-Zilani fleet. As the last Harvester ship was destroyed, silence fell over the battlefield. The threat that had consumed dozens of worlds was finally ended. "Admiral Chen," came Commander Vex9's voice over the communication system. "The Zilani people are forever in humanity's debt. You crossed the stars to help strangers. This is something the galaxy has never seen before." Sarah looked out at the stars, thinking about the battle they had won and the civilizations they had saved. "Commander, we didn't do this for gratitude. We did it because it was right." In the months that followed, the human fleet helped the Zilani rebuild their civilization on a new world. The two species shared technology, knowledge, and friendship. Together, they founded the Galactic Alliance, dedicated to protecting intelligent life throughout the galaxy.